WWE Crown Jewel 2023 match card and predictions is the live stream for you today here on SCW. Thank you for choosing the channel and choosing the video. Plenty of matches to go through today. There's a kickoff match for the first time in a long time on the WWE PLE. There'll also be 7 other matches on the main show with multiple championships on the line. We'll quickly go through the match card before we get our guest on here today. So without further ado, here is the Crown Jewel card for those who are wondering. First off, the kickoff match will be Sami Zayn versus JD McDonagh. We then go to the main show. We've got Cody Rhodes, the American Nightmare, against Damian Priest. We have the United States Championship on the line with Rey Mysterio going against Logan Paul. For the Women's Championship, we've got Io Sky defending against a returning Bianca Belair. And of course, for the Women's World Championship, Rhea defends the championship against Raquel Rodriguez, Nia Jax, Shayna Baszler, and Zoey Stark. We've got the World Heavyweight Championship on the line. Seth Freakin Rollins going against Drew McIntyre. We've got John Cena versus Solo Sikoa. And last but not least, we've got the Undisputed WWE Universal Championship, Roman Reigns defending against LA Knight. Yeah. It's compulsory. Support the channel by making sure to like the video, share with a friend, subscribe, and make sure to get involved in the comments section as well. As we go through the live stream as well, feel free to share with your predictions. Welcome to everyone that is watching live with us right now. Without further ado, we'll say it's Crown Jewel predictions time. I'm not going to do this on my own. You know how this works by now. I've got the man, the one, the only Mr. Say it with me. NX Steve in the house is going to be talking all things Crown Jewel with me. NX Steve, what are your excitement levels for Crown Jewel?
To be fair, even though it is a Crown Jewel show, the quality of wrestling should be really good, and I think that's probably what I'm most excited about.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same. Like it's. I mean, obviously we've got LA Knight challenging for the championship. Obviously, something fans have wanted for a very, very long time. We're getting that, so I mean that's quite exciting in itself. We've got the likes of John Cena. We've got obviously Cody Rhodes on this show. We haven't got a Brock Lesnar for the first time on one of these Saudi shows, which is interesting to see. Obviously we've got Seth versus Drew on this show, so plenty to sort of look forward to, if you will. Sami Zayn making the travel once again, albeit for the kickoff. So there was a lot on this show. Obviously, Io versus a returning Bianca Belair, the women's 5-way. I think it's a stacked looking show from top to bottom. If you have to give a score out of between 1 and 10, what would you give the score right now?
From an excitement level, I'd probably have to say, because I'd probably have to say about 8, to be fair, because like I said, there is some good lineups there. It's not like there's probably one match where I'm kind of like, yeah, I could probably do without this, but the rest of them, I'm all like, do you know what? I'm actually gonna be all right with this match card.
Yeah, I feel it's a decent looking match card. I'm kind of the same with you. I'm about an 8. I think it's a good level to be, and like you say, there's lots of things to be excited about. Some of it feels predictable, in my opinion, but obviously I can be wrong. Time will tell on a lot of it. I've been proven wrong on some of these streams before, but what what match are you most looking forward to?
I mean, this is the thing. There's I think LA Knight Roman Reigns is although maybe predictable, really excited to see what they can do together. Cody versus Priest, I think it's going to be a really good match. JD McDonagh versus Sami Zayn, I think it's going to be a really good match. So yeah, do you know what I mean? It's sort of a bit from everywhere, the beginning, start, and end.
Yeah, there is something for everybody in this show. I think for me, Seth versus Drew is the story I've enjoyed the most going into this show. So that's probably the match I'm most looking forward to. I do think there will be potentially a twist on this show. And we've discussed things before about this, and obviously we'll be talking about that as the stream does go on. But without further ado, we're going to go into our chat before we go into the first match. And quite a few comments have come in. Ghost Spider has been very active. Thank you for joining us, Ghost Spider. It says, what's up, guys? Asking us some questions outside of Crown Jewel. So we'll answer those, but they've been very short form, if you don't mind. First off, Will Ospreay, will he join WWE? I personally think he's joining AEW.
Yeah, I think he's going to AEW. I think it makes more sense for him. Then that way he can still do New Japan as well.
Absolutely. And also giving our pick then for the fatal 4-way between Ricochet, Ivar, Miz, and Bronson Reed. His pick is Ivar. The winner, of course, gets a shot at Gunther for the IC title on a Raw show in the near future. I'm going to go with the Miz.
I would also go with the Miz. I think the story's there for the Miz and Gunther.
They're starting to build for it, so it looks like it could be the case. But Ivar would be a fun match to watch. We won't lie with that. City Central in the house with a really silly but fun username. Thank you for joining us. Hope you're doing well. Eric Douglas saying, thought that JC and Fear would have won last night. I haven't seen NXT as of yet, so unfortunately I can't comment on that. But hey, it's a shame they didn't. LA Knight, yeah, says Eric. I hope you're doing well, Eric, by the way. Thank you for joining us. Also, the Creed brothers, yes, they have been called up to the main roster, if you believe the dirt sheets. And of course, they have the victory over Alpha Academy. Very quickly, I would say, I thought it was an awesome tag team match on Raw.
It was a really good match. It's almost like those four are suited to be some sort of faction if you put them all together.
Absolutely, could be indeed. I would love that. I think that would be a great way to go forward, actually. The Alpha Academy would be very strong as well as a group. But we're going things and turning things back onto the attention then of Crown Jewel then from here on. Ghost Spider saying that match I'm most looking forward to, Drew versus Seth for Ghost Spider. And to be fair, I agree. It's the one I'm most looking forward to as well. Is JD McDonagh officially in Judgment Day? No, not officially. He's still kind of on the outskirts, working his way in. But he does seem to be heavily more associated with the group. They seem to be a bit more accepting of his presence going forward. And
he's almost
Eric
like a disciple, like NWO used to have.
Pretty much, yes. And of course, NWO mentioned that we did our retro review of Halloween Havoc on the channel last night. If you've not seen it, make sure to go and check that out as well. Eric Douglas says, I think the twist is Liv returns and turns on Raquel. Interesting. And what a big platform that would be to do so. And Ghost Spider says, for me, JD McDonagh is an honorary member of the Judgment Day. Honorary could be a perfect word for it. So without further ado, we're not going to waste any time getting straight into this. So make sure to hit that like button. And like I say, support the channel. It really does help the algorithms here on YouTube. But like we said, it's a show with a kickoff match, so let's start off with it. It's Sami Zayn taking on JD McDonagh. Now, we said JD, not really a member of Judgment Day, kind of an affiliate, if you will, at this time, but he's been helping the Judgment Day pick up big victories, including when Judgment Day won those tag team titles against Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens, of course, way back at Payback. This feels like it's been going on for quite a while, to be fair. Obviously, this match is going to be kind of sprung out of nowhere, but Sami and the Judgment Day has been going on for what feels like 6 months. You're going to hear this a lot in this stream from me. It feels like it's going towards War Games. How do you see this as a build? Are you excited for it? How do you see it playing out?
Depending on the result, I think is really the most important outcome. Like, I just feel like we've seen so many iterations of Sami Zayn versus someone from the Judgment Day. Like I said, I think the result is the key part and what they're planning on doing going forward. Like you said, whoa,
hello,
everything just went purple.
Everything just went purple. That was not meant to go purple, but it's gone purple. We'll stick with it for now. We might change as we go along.
Yeah, it just feels like it's what you said. It's building towards War Games. So yeah, I imagine it'll be a quality match, but I think the result is like I said, the story beat for it and what happens afterwards.
Yeah, absolutely. For me, I see Sami Zayn picking up the win. For me, there's no reason why JD should pick up a win on this show, as he seems to be the feeder of the Judgment Day, if you want, if he's associated with them at this particular moment for me. And I feel that Sami Zayn picking up a win here, obviously now he's going to the Saudi shows, got a massive reaction last time. I imagine it'll be the same this time with Sami if he picks up a W here as well. And obviously I did see an Instagram post that was quite interesting, which was after JD's loss against Seth Rollins on Raw, where were you to Damian Priest? It feels a little bit like maybe JD's getting a bit fed up of doing the favors and not getting things done for him in return. So I think that could keep the pot stirring a little more, just keep things being a bit more juicy. So would you be down for that?
I think for me, though, I think JD has to win. I think that you're expecting the faces to win come War Games, and I think that it all starts from here. And I think JD needs a win to get on the good graces of the rest of the Judgment Day, because he has just been losing and losing and losing. And I think he finally needs to be made a proper member, and I think this is how they do it.
I like it. I do like your way of doing it as well, though. To be fair, it's open season, so it'll be interesting to see how it's going to play out on the show. Ghost Spider giving a prediction that Sami Zayn will win the match. Time will tell on it. But anything more you'd like to add on Sami Zayn versus JD McDonagh, or should we kick on to the main show?
It just probably actually has the potential to be match of the night, really. I expect it to be a killer. It's actually one reason I will watch the kickoff show, is because I expect that to be a really good match.
Yeah, you're quite a fan of JD McDonagh, aren't you, in the ring?
Yeah. Since his days from NXT UK, and when he had that match against Finn Balor, I knew obviously of Jordan Devlin, but I hadn't seen a lot of his work. But then when I see him in that first match against Finn Balor, I was just like, nah, this guy's good, and his character work is really, really impressive.
It is actually. He's really developed in his days, especially in NXT, and now how he's gone into the Judgment Day. He's a good performer. One thing that goes for this match in favor as well, because these shows are usually not 4 hours long. So the fact we have 7 matches here on the main show, you probably think, well, maybe they won't be so long. Kickoff here. Time will be given to this match. Obviously, there's a lot of trust here with these two performers as well to have that time. So it could
It's
be a good thing
probably
for
going to
them.
be, as I say, it probably is going to be the longest match on the card.
Yeah, absolutely. It could very well end up being the case there. But without further ado, we'll go into the main show there. And well, actually, to be fair, I'm going to go back to the green graphic we had here because it seems to be going all over the place so far with the color scheme. But bear with me, we are going to get there. But the first match we're going to be discussing on the main show is the American Nightmare Cody Rhodes going against Damian Priest. Senor Money in the Bank. Obviously, we spoke about the Judgment Day feuds that have been going on for months on Monday Night Raw. Cody Rhodes is another one of those. Obviously, winning the tag team titles, Cody and Jay, at the last show, Fastlane, from Priest and Baszler. Of course, since Priest and Baszler have won those championships back once again for the Judgment Day. Cody, though, had an attack done to him via Damian Priest, of course, and JD McDonagh helped in that, by the way, to injure Cody's ankle, obviously, a couple of weeks ago on Raw. Cody did come and make an appearance at the end of Raw this week, making the save for Jey Uso. And, of course, he did actually have some words anyway for Damian Priest about being not the leader of Judgment Day. How the fact he's someone that's in the shadows, someone that follows behind people, is not actually someone that takes the lead. And obviously, that seemed to get a little bit under Damian Priest's skin. What do you make of this build?
Again, it's okay, but it's the same as the last one we were just talking about. It just seems to be another iteration of someone versus, like, Cody, or someone versus a member of the Judgment Day. It's like it's keeping Cody busy. It's keeping him out of a world title scene, depending on what they're planning on doing with him towards Mania. I'm all for it, but it's a case of, if they are going to do War Games, I hope that they announce it like Monday night. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't really want this to be dragged out as a last minute. Like, this needs to be built properly, and this needs to be the end of this feud, because I am starting to get a little bit bored and tedious of seeing someone from the same 4 or 5 people versus a member of the Judgment Day.
Yeah, I mean, it seems to be that way. Obviously, before, you would have said, for me, the safe bet would have been the Judgment Day members, where you had, obviously, Baszler, Priest, Dominic Mysterio, JD McDonagh. And then, obviously, if you look on the other side, you would have said Cody Rhodes, Jey Uso, Sami Zayn. You would have said Kevin Owens. Obviously, KO's on SmackDown now. Could we see someone like maybe Seth Rollins fill out the field there to make it, the 4-on-4 if things continue with him and the Judgment Day? Because obviously, there have been teases with Damian Priest, obviously, with cashing in that briefcase. Of course, Seth did dare Priest to do it on Raw this past week and said that you'd be wasting it, cashing it in on me. That commentary have really teased the idea that Priest could cash in on this show, discussed all 4 men that are involved in the championship matches as a potential bet that could be cashed in on. Is it a case, and I'm going to ask this question now, is this a case where you could see Damian Priest, and this is the reason why I put this as match 1, because I think it could kick off the show, the classic, lose that first match, you cash in later in the night, and obviously then you may end up walking away a world champion. Are WWE kind of giving us the idea of what they did with Dean Ambrose back in Money in the Bank 2016, saying, well, if I win the briefcase, I'm going to cash in on the same night? And you think, yeah, right, he's not going to actually do that. And then Ambrose actually did cash in. It kind of gave away the ending of the show at the very beginning. Could that be a case of what they're doing here with Damian Priest?
No, I think they're just doing it as a point that they're doing it really well. That with Steve, we've had this conversation so many times now. Every time we get to a premium live event, that we turn around and go, "Is Priest going to cash in?" And do you know what I mean? One of us normally says yes, and it's a case of, I don't think he's going to cash that in until the complete disbandment of the Judgment Day. Like, I think that has to be the final straw, or it has to be the last thing that keeps them together. Do you know what I mean? I think Dom's got to lose. Rhea's got to lose those titles. They've got to lose the tag team titles. I think, like I said, until they lose all that, we're not going to see this cash in now at this point. And then again, I could be talking absolute waffle, and he could end up doing it. But the other thing is, it's a Saudi show. I don't think they do it on a Saudi show. I think they wait until they were at home in the US with a hot US crowd to do it, or even wherever Survivor Series is going to be.
In Chicago, of all places. But obviously, that's another question as well, though. You've said it there out. We've never had it on a Saudi show, a Money in the Bank cash in. Could this be the time?
It's possible, but I'm going to say 3% botched. Do you know what I mean? That it does happen. I find it very hard to believe that they do this on a Saudi show.
We'll have to wait and see how it's going to play out. So final then for a prediction then, Priest versus Rhodes. Because in a way, if Priest is not going to cash in, this is a place really where he needs to pick up a win, because they're saying he's this guy that's in the background. He's not someone in the forefront of the Judgment Day. Kind of needs to stand up and be counted if he's not going to cash in.
And that's for me why I'm going to go with Damian Priest picking up the win. I think everyone's gonna lose to the Judgment Day in the build up to hopefully War Games, and then the War Games match is going to be everyone's redemption story where everyone just gets put in their place and everyone gets absolutely destroyed. And hell, why not do something crazy like all titles on the line? Do you know what I mean? The tag team titles, the North American Championship. Do you know what I mean? Just bring Wesley up, put Wesley in the War Games match. Do you know what I mean? For a laugh, why not do something crazy? But yeah, I think Judgment Day are just going to be on a complete high now till War Games.
You mentioned about high flyers. Ricochet's obviously started a bit of a thing with the Judgment Day as well in recent weeks. He could end up in War Games once again. Could be another shout there. I'm going to do the same as you. Cody lost on the last Saudi show, and I've got a funny feeling he's going to lose on this one. I think Priest is going to pick up the win. Priest needs a big win if he's going to be seen as a main event guy. They can't, I know that this is the thing. You win Money in the Bank, you can lose matches, and it's not a big deal because once you cash in, you get that championship later on. But I've got a funny feeling that, I think Priest, this could be his night.
Yeah, like I said, I think he's going to win. I think they need to keep him strong, especially like you just said, with the fact that he's got that Money in the Bank briefcase. He needs to have some sort of credibility if he is, or whenever he is going to cash that thing in. So yeah, like I said, just Damian Priest all the way for me. Cody will suffer another loss, but it's almost like it's a story that Cody's got to tell, where he comes back and overcomes these obstacles, and this current obstacle is the Judgment Day.
Absolutely. Of course, if he leads into War Games, a match that Dusty made famous as well, that feels like that's a bit of adversity that would be fixed from Cody in this story.
God. I can see the WWE promo now that you said that. It's like, oh, his father made this famous. I can already picture it, man.
Absolutely. Ghost Spider says that I predict Cody Rhodes will win against Damian Priest there. We've got C Nation Dog in the house. CD, thank you for joining us. Hope you're doing well. It says if Priest wins the World Heavyweight Championship at Crown Jewel, he'll be a triple champion. Will he? Obviously, the Money in the Bank will be gone, wouldn't it? I guess that would.
He's unified tag champions, so technically that's 2 titles.
There you go. Yeah, that's a good point. Very good point. Yeah, absolutely, indeed. There.
But mind you, they've got new tag titles, haven't they? Like they're supposed to be rumored to be
unveiled soon.
A new design. Yeah,
a couple of designs.
Who knows?
So we'll see. Maybe that might change. We're going backwards a little bit, but I didn't get to the comment at the time when it was brought up from Eric here. So, what did you think of Sami Zayn's promo on Monday? Let's start with you, Venix, Steve.
It was great. Don't get me wrong, but it's all very samey. Like it feels like he's been doing the same promo for months. It felt like when he was doing it. But like when he left the Bloodline, and then once he left the Bloodline, all this Judgment Day, it just feels like it's constantly forever the same promos at the minute. And it's like, I get that he's meant to be the face and he's meant to be the underdog, but I don't know, man. Like I just want a change in whoever the Judgment Day are facing. I'm starting to get a little bit bored of like the same matches every week.
Absolutely, yeah. For me, that's what I'm kind of looking forward to Survivor Series. Not just obviously the War Games is exciting itself, but I think we need to hit a refresh button when it comes to some of the feuds, especially with the Judgment Day on Monday Night Raw. For me, that needs to happen to go forward, and make things a bit more exciting.
Especially because there's no December pay-per-view. The fact that they really do need to refresh, because they've now got like 8 weeks before the Rumble, and it's a long time, so they've really got to have something there to build for Rumble. And I can't do another 8 weeks of, do you know what I mean, Cody, Sami, whoever versus the Judgment Day. Do you know what I mean? It's just going to be the same thing.
Absolutely, yeah. It does feel kind of like that. CD says, what does LA stand for in LA Knights? What does AJ stand for AJ Styles? And what does CM stand for in CM Punk? I have always wondered this. I think there are answers for all three, but unfortunately, they're not on the top of my head right now. It's getting pretty late where I am.
CM Punk's is a chick magnet Punk.
There we are. Yeah,
it was for when he was in a tag team in not ECW but ROH. It's Chick Magnet Punk. Like everyone says Chicago made, but it's Chick Magnet. LA and AJ is, I think, is actually his real name. It's
Alan something.
Initials of his. It's his real name, but just abbreviated into AJ, and then LA. I don't know.
Los Angeles, the megastar.
La Knight.
La Knight. Yeah, La Resistance could be coming back in, making a resurgence in WWE. You never know. Ghost Spider here says, early prediction, Drew McIntyre versus Cody Rhodes at the Royal Rumble. Would love to see that go down. Also predicting the idea of Damian Priest and Finn Balor versus DIY. And DIY win the tag team titles there. And we could see perhaps a kick out of Finn Balor from the Judgment Day.
Do you know what? I've just thought about this as well. We'll talk about it more, but I say that I don't think Priest is going to cash in, Drew McIntyre is a key factor in whether he cashes in that contract or not, I think.
I'm still undecided, but I'll say now I'm going to share. I mean, I've already shared on videos what I think could happen with this. So for people that haven't seen it, you're in for something new. For those who have seen it, you may have heard it before, but I will say where I think it's most likely, if it's going to happen, and how it will play out. But we'll go into that later in the video. CD says, so I really want to see Seth Rollins and Nathan Frazier combat the Judgment Day. Obviously, Seth and Nathan Frazier have got a lot of history together. So liking that indeed there. Noob in the house. Noob, hope you're doing well. Thank you for checking out the stream. And hope you're keeping well. Let us know your predictions for Crown Jewel this upcoming weekend. CD says, The Miz did this 2010 where he was United States Champion and Unified Tag Team Champion with a Big Show. Technically was a Triple Crown. The technicalities are in there. Ghost Spider says that Drew McIntyre and Judgment Day versus Seth, Cody, Sami, Jay, and Randy Orton in War Games is the early fantasy booking. Of course, Randy Orton is rumored to be back in time for Survivor Series. Ghost Spider, you may be onto something.
I think with Ricochet making an appearance on Raw on Monday, you might need to change one of them people for Ricochet.
We'll see how it will play out. Richard always says spoiler, their predictions, ladies and gentlemen, but good to see. Roman retains via DQ. Bianca wins against Io Sky and Zoey Stark. Of course, joining the Judgment Day. 1 month, it just might happen. We'll move on in the meantime, ladies and gentlemen. Richard, I hope you're doing well, by the way. Thank you for taking the time to join us here today. We're going to be moving on now to the next match. And of course, it's for the United States Championship. It is Rey Mysterio taking on Logan Paul. Oh boy. It's come to that point where we need to talk about Logan Paul potentially becoming United States champion, because let's be fair, it feels like it could become a reality. Rey Mysterio obviously was called out by Logan Paul after his last boxing match, which should we say influencer boxing? Is it really boxing at this point? I don't know. But he did last with Floyd Mayweather. So come on, let's give Logan some credit when he has been in the boxing ring. But calling out Rey Mysterio as the next match in Saudi, obviously, for the US title. The idea of Logan Paul winning this championship, obviously being on this impulsive podcast, doing these media appearances, and perhaps going into boxing matches, holding this United States Championship from the WWE. Here's an outside following. It feels like it could be a match that WWE has been looking to make for a while and could make a reality at this show.
I think this is, So ever since they put Logan versus Roman on at the last Saudi show, you could just tell that someone in creative, someone in the higher ups, went, do you know what? We need to put a title on this guy. And unfortunately for Rey Mysterio, it's more than likely going to be the United States Championship. And you know what? Since we talked about it, whenever we did, might have been the last time we did a review from the last Premium Live event, and someone it was brought up and the idea of it, and I was like, no, I really don't want to see Logan Paul the United States Championship, because it's like, he's not a wrestler. He's just a celebrity, blah, blah, blah. But I was like, do you know what? He's got credibility. And do you know what? Over the last 4 to 5 weeks, I've gone, do you know what? I wouldn't actually mind seeing Logan Paul United States champion. I think it'd be really entertaining. And I think I think he'd actually do a hell of a job to elevate that championship. And I think the United States Championship needs it.
Do you know what? I'm going to agree wholeheartedly. I know this may get a few dislikes for these comments we're making, but Logan Paul has got heat wherever he goes, and I think that he has got the factor to make this championship more elevated than what it is. I think actually Rey Mysterio losing this championship also can do something the other way around, to be honest. I think it adds more friction with Rey and the LWO. Obviously, Santos Escobar was meant to be the one challenging for this championship originally before Rey jumped in, did the Hogan WrestleMania 9 trick, obviously going, I'm going to get the championship instead because you're hurt. And Santos obviously did get his match, but it wasn't a clean finish. I can just see there'll be problems with LWO in time. I can see Santos turning on Rey. And obviously, like we said, LA Knight, United States champion. it will do good things for the company, for WWE shop, probably even storylines in wrestling, because people want to see him lose that championship. The only real negative I can think of is Roman isn't around all the time. Logan might not be around all the time either. So what championships will be left on SmackDown to challenge for? Just the tag team championships. So maybe Judgment Day could be going over there as well.
I think if they put that United States title on, I reckon Logan Paul is going to be every week on SmackDown with that title. Guarantee. From now until whenever he loses it, I can just see him being on SmackDown every week. I'd even be as bold as to say that he does an open challenge every week. I think it'd be something crazy like that. Because do you know what? I got a feeling this is going to win him over with the crowd, having this United States title. I think he's gonna face a couple of faces over the next month or so, but at some point he's gonna come up against someone that is a bigger heel than him, and it's just gonna turn him face.
Interesting. I have a feeling that he will hold this championship until WrestleMania 40, and I think that, like I said, whoever beats Logan Paul gets a bigger name out of it, gets the championship out of him as well, gets a monster pop out of him. Who better to go for it at WrestleMania at this point than LA Knight if he doesn't win the championship here? That is the program. We said it at SummerSlam they should have been doing that program after Money in the Bank. Yeah. Obviously way back in July time.
But it's clever though, because they're like, let's save it for Mania. Why put it on? Let's put it on the grandest stage of them all, and you're going to have one of the biggest social media influencers against one of the most overstars in recent years fighting for the United States Championship. It's almost guaranteed now at this point, isn't it? And it's, man, they're good at this business stuff, WWE, I'll tell you that.
Feels like it indeed, absolutely. Will anyone be buying United States Championship if Logan Paul wins it? Let us know in the comments below. But we're going to go to the comments in the meantime, because quite a few people have got involved.
I'm telling you now, he's gonna get a custom US title as well. He'll get one. He'll get a custom Logan Paul US title with like a Pokemon card in the middle of it or something stupid like that. But you can just tell Logan Paul is the kind of guy that will have a custom US title.
Prime, all over it. In what's it like, the ice pop flavor, which is like the red, white, and blue.
Red, white, and blue.
It could work. It could work.
Oh dear, we should work for marketing for WWE.
If you're watching, take notes. But let's go into comments. I'm sure everyone's got quite a few good predictions in here for us. And we'll start off with CD. Says I got Logan Paul winning the United States Championship. Noob & Co. also agreeing.
We didn't actually give our results, but I think it was pretty obvious that we're both going Logan Paul wins this.
Did we not? Yeah, Logan Paul's winning. Sorry, Ray. We've not even talked about the idea of Ray winning. If Ray does win, good on Ray. Don't see it happening.
Well done, Ray.
He doesn't need to win this. I think that's pretty much it. Ray is a legend already. He doesn't need to win this. And low-key, this could be an absolute banger of a match.
Yeah, that is the one plus, is like Logan Paul is actually a good amateur wrestler, and this could be really entertaining.
It could be indeed. New match is going to be obvious, Logan Paul, because I think LA Knight's going to take the US title off Logan at WrestleMania 40. Great minds think alike there. Also, we've got some fantasy booking in as well. Ghost Spider sharing the idea of Seth Rollins versus Randy Orton. Randy wins after a match with Damian Priest, finally cashing in Money in the Bank, becoming new champ. Loving that, Ghost Spider. Miz as a face, very disappointing in terms of how WWE are doing it. I'm not sure I want the Miz as babyface. I kind of like him as the whiny heel. I've got used to Miz as heel all the time.
Yeah, I mean, if he's kind of like that, he's almost trying to hit tweener, and kind of be that baby face heel, and it's like I said, you never know, they might be booking it for the Miz to take that title off of him, because then doesn't Miz become the most decorated Intercontinental Champion of all time, which would be a bigger achievement than being the longest reigning one, because I think he's like 10-time champion, and I think he's tied. And I think if he wins one more, he becomes the 11-time Intercontinental Champion.
I think they said actually he's got it 8 times. Yeah, Google it. I think he's held it 8 times. I think so. And I think Jericho's held it 9. I think, but Google it and let us know. In the meantime, Richard's saying that believes that Rey Mysterio retains and will defend that title against Dominic Mysterio in Royal Rumble next year. Obviously, given as a take as well for War Games, Jericho, Cody, Ricochet, Liv Morgan, and Sami Zayn versus the Judgment Day in War Games. Adding the whole Judgment Day in War Games could be fascinating and interesting. CD says here that Bobby Lashley beat Rey Mysterio in a non-title match, and he hasn't got a title match yet. Probably not going to get one either. That's how we're looking at this right here. It feels like Bobby Lashley has moved on to Carlito in the meantime. Ghost Spider says, my opinion, Rey Mysterio should retain the United States Championship. And CD says, plus we got Ricochet versus Logan Paul, which we did get, obviously. And maybe we would get again at some point further down the line. We'd be excited to get that match one more time. Has Google provided any answers, Enix Steve?
I have Chris Jericho is the number one. He has 9, and The Miz has 8 reigns. And I'm very surprised that they haven't bothered, because obviously with Jericho being in AEW now, you would have thought that they would have had him replace Jericho as the most decorated Intercontinental Champion. So it's a possibility, but yeah, he is like I said, he's the second most behind Jericho, and the only person closest to that is Jeff Jarrett and Dolph Ziggler, who are no longer with the company. And Rob Van Dam. So there's no worries of anyone catching up anytime soon.
There we go. It could happen at some point. I have to see what will happen. But apparently, as well, Miz greatest Intercontinental Champion in CD's opinion. That's fair. I think it's fair. Obviously, Miz had some great reigns with that title. 2016 is one, obviously, that sticks in a lot of people's minds when mentioning the Miz with that title. Ghostbusters says if Logan Paul wins, he will show up to WWE every 3 months, and that means another championship being held hostage. He could be right with that. I wouldn't be surprised if that's what happened. Let's have a look here. Boom. There we are. Is there anything you'd like to mention more about this match, or should we move on to the following encounter?
Nah, let's move on, man. We think we've had enough of we tried so hard to convince people that Logan Paul's going to win this. You know what I mean? It was such a hard job.
It's been a very difficult task, but hopefully we managed to convince people that already said the same thing in the comments. Let's move on then to the WWE Women's Championship. Io Sky taking on Bianca Belair. Bianca, of course, was cashed in on by Io Sky to win that championship at SummerSlam earlier this year. Of course, that was the year anniversary as well of Damage Control, where Io won the championship. Of course, after that, basically, Damage Control took Bianca Belair out of WWE. It was an attack backstage on SmackDown. It was a chair wrapped around the leg of Bianca. Obviously, she was screaming in pain off of TV for a good couple of months. She's made the return, helping Charlotte Flair after a match with Io. Io, of course, retaining her championship. Io has beaten Asuka. She's beaten Charlotte. I'm going to mention that word again, Enix Steve. Could we see War Games here with Damage Control, Bianca, Charlotte, and Asuka in some variation at Survivor Series, perhaps with more members added to them? And if that's the case, does that mean it makes more sense for Io to retain here?
The only way I think it works is if you add a certain Jade Cargill on the side of Damage Control, and you turn around and go, Jade comes in and says, look, I'll help you, I'll be on your team, but if we win, I want a shot at that WWE Championship. I think it's the only way you get 4-on-4.
I can think of the babyface that could join the 4-on-4. I think Kairi Sane is the one that makes the most sense to come in. I think Noob will be in the comments, will remind us as well, and always usually does, and very good to do so. Bailey actually wrote Kairi out of WWE. There's an excuse for her to come in and have a beef with Damage Control from the get-go. And Noob always brings that up to us, and I'm so glad, because it's very relevant here, the idea that with War Games coming up, Kairi Sane could be a factor, that could be a part of the group that goes against Damage Control. Obviously, with history of Io Sky, obviously, as well, friends with Asuka, so there's plenty to work with. Obviously, Kabuki Warriors history as well, so it'll be interesting to see how it's all going to play out. But again, it feels short and brief here, but Bianca Belair lost against Asuka on the last Saudi show. That's when she lost to this championship. Could it happen again to her this year, where she doesn't win the match and Io retains? How do you see it playing out?
I think it can. I think it just depends on the narrative for me, because at the minute I'm still bored of babyface Belair, and like they need to do something with her, because I'm so disinterested in the character at the minute, and I need something. And I think if you do the case of Io retaining, it might be the precipice to force Belair over the edge and turn heel. Who knows? But like we've had literally a year-long title defense of Belair as WWE champion, and it's a case of if they put that title on her again, is it a case of we're going to have to sit there and have another year of a babyface Belair as WWE champion?
It'll be interesting how they will do it. I think how they're going to play this out, and I've said this before, so if anyone that's heard this before, apologies. I think Io is going to retain here. I think that they'll go through Survivor Series. I think Io loses the championship at the Royal Rumble. I think that's the place. Whoever she faces, whether it's Charlotte or Bianca, it'll be one or the other. Could even be a triple threat match, and that will start the build for Bianca versus Charlotte for WrestleMania. Where I'll add something a bit new in, I think WWE are booking currently Bianca and Charlotte as both baby faces. Now, that should change, in my opinion. Charlotte does her work better as a heel. However, I think at WrestleMania, it's going to be built as if the two, alpha females, best females, however you want to put it. And I think Bianca will cheat to win to keep that record intact. And I think that that's where the heel turn will start.
It's a good shout, but for me, then I don't want the women's title involved in it. I want it as a case of, I don't know, maybe do a triple threat at the Rumble and they both negate themselves and cost each other the championship. I would rather, if you're going to do a heel turn, I don't need the women's title involved in that. I think if you do that as a blood feud, I think that's got a more interesting appeal than a case of putting the championship on the line, because I know I speak for some people, but I think everyone's bored of seeing Bianca Belair and Charlotte Flair at WrestleMania wrestling for titles. I want to see something different. A blood feud sounds good to me.
Well, it's then a meaningful rivalry. If it's say they cancel each other out and that leads to their feud starting anyway, Io can go on as champion against Bayley, for example, because we imagine Bayley will get frustrated somewhere. That would be interesting.
Yeah. I was just about to say, because I'm pretty sure at some point we've got to get Io versus Bayley for that title. And you're obviously running out of time between now and Mania, so maybe that's the Mania match. Maybe
it is. Time will tell on it. But do you agree with me that Io's going to retaining here?
Yeah, I think Io's going to retain. Like I said, I'm not too fan of seeing another year's worth of Belair as a face champion.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same at this moment. I'm looking forward to the idea of heel Bianca like we've seen in NXT before. I think that would be refreshing to see. Obviously, with the Street Profits, obviously her husband Montez Ford taking a heel route as well. Could it be fun with being with that group? Who knows? A lot of fun that they could have as a power couple in WWE. But
imagine they then do Judgment Day versus New Hurt Business, where you've got Bianca, Street Profits, Bobby against Priest, Balor, Dom, and Rhea. Do you know what I mean? It writes itself.
It does write itself indeed. I think that could be quite fun and fascinating to see, actually. So we'll see how it will play out. And we'll go to the comments in the meantime. Noob says, don't forget about Kairi Sane coming back because of those rumors. So it was brought in there again from Noob there. Thank you, Noob, for bringing it to our attention.
Weren't the rumors that they're going to reform the Kabuki Warriors of Asuka with Kairi?
I don't know if I have not seen the rumor. I know we've talked about it on these streams multiple times as a prediction. I've not seen it confirmed anywhere, but maybe it is. I don't know. I don't keep up with the wrestling gossip as well as I used to, mainly because of the fact of timing, really reasons. But I haven't seen a lot of stuff in the last couple of weeks, so I've been kind of in the dark going into this show, and actually don't mind it. It makes it more exciting. So we'll have to wait and see. But we've got Ghost Spider says predicting that Io Sky will retain against Bianca Belair. Ghost Spider wants to see Kevin Owens dethrone Rey Mysterio, not Logan Paul. Set up a big three match at WrestleMania 40 with Sami Zayn, LA Knight, and KO for the title. Logan Paul versus Rey Mysterio versus Santos. I'm confused there if that's a free match. Set three matches. Yeah, okay. I'm with you now. KO versus LA Knight for the US title. Sami versus Logan Paul. Then Rey Mysterio versus Santos. I like it. Fair play. Easily confused. Richard says,
if you're going to do Rey versus Santos, I think if they're going to go to Puerto Rico again next year, they'd save it for that.
Oh, at the moment, it doesn't look likely. Doesn't look likely at the moment, but we'll see. We'll see what does go down with it. But I mean, obviously, we've seen it go Spider actually suggesting war games as well. A lot of tag teams involved there as well. Obviously, the tag team division could get a bit of refreshment as well. And we talked about Kairi Sane might cost Bayley her shot against Io Sky at WrestleMania 40 because here's a spoiler: Charlotte and Shotzi are a tag team on this week's SmackDown. Interesting. They're a tag team for SmackDown. We'll see if that has any long-term legs on it. CD says, I got Bianca Belair winning the Women's Championship, but she does not have to have a long reign as her last one. And I think that's something I think NXT would hope if she does win it, that it would not be the same as the last time. Noob says, Io Sky is winning because we might get War Games. I think we will get War Games. It would be silly not to do a women's one as well. They've built it up so well to this point. It'd be a waste not to do it with these women at this stage, in my opinion, anyway. Ghost Spider says, if WWE split up the tag team titles, in your guys' opinion, who should be the champions of SmackDown? And he thinks it should be the Street Profits or Gallows and Anderson. And Steve, I'll let you go first.
I'm going to say Pete Dunne and Ridge Holland. I'm going to say the Brawling Brooch just because I think Pete Dunne needs something, because I think the guy's suffered enough under the name of Butch.
I like the suggestion, although I kind of want to see Ghost Spiders more. I think the Street Profits, would be interesting as heels with those tag team titles.
Yeah, but dude, you're forgetting we can have a whole rivalry between Pretty Deadly and Brawling Brooch for them tag team titles.
Well, we had it without the titles, but I mean, with the title, maybe just Pretty Deadly with the tag team titles. I think it's a yes boy from
Pretty
me.
Deadly, yeah.
Yeah, yes, Pretty Deadly's our answer. Yeah, we've changed. Doesn't take a lot of convincing when it's Pretty Deadly. Prediction for WrestleMania 40. A lot of WrestleMania 40 talk on the video today. Io versus Dakota for the Women's Championship with Io Sky in the triple threat, and Charlotte versus Bianca. Hell in a Cell match there. Boom, look at that. And CD not keeping up as much with the wrestling news as he used to. And he says that he finds it much more exciting. It will come on the screen in a minute. There it comes. Slow for me anyway. I don't know. I think I've got a bit of delay on my stream at the moment, so I hope it's not affecting everybody else that's watching and listening at this moment.
It popped up straight away for me, so I think it's just your end. You need to put another hamster on the wheel.
I think so. Yeah, we'll get it running. It should be all right there. Anything we'd like to add before we move on to the next match?
Go for it, mate.
Gonna need some more hamsters on the wheel for the next match, because not a singles match in this one. We've got a fatal 5-way we're going to talk about here. Here it comes for the Women's World Championship. It is Rhea Ripley defending against Nia Jax, Raquel Rodriguez, Shayna Baszler, and Zoey Stark. It's going to be a hell of a match. Fatal 5-way. Rhea Ripley has been dominating the division. Of course, she was, doing a tear on Raquel Rodriguez up until Nia Jax made her return, and then Nia Jax decided she was going to go through the entire roster, of course, attacking Raquel and Rhea. Of course, after that, Shayna and Zoey were victims as well, and it's led to kind of where we've got literally a lot of the most dominant females on the Raw brand all going for the Women's Championship at the same time. And Rhea, someone that's been dominant in singles matches, all of a sudden becomes vulnerable because now she's not got to be involved in the decision when it comes to losing this championship. And of course, where Judgment Day recently have been quite vulnerable to losing championships, could this be the most likely sign that Rhea Ripley could be the next Judgment Day member to lose a championship?
Yes, but I feel it's going to be booking exactly the same way as the rest of the Judgment Day have, because obviously we've had Priest and Balor lose the titles. Rhea got them back straight away. You've then had Dominic lose the North American Championship, wins it back straight away. This is the first time that there is a possibility that Rhea could lose the title, and the fact that she can't be involved in the pinfall, I think makes it an even higher possibility. And then we'll get on Monday Night Raw or whatever, we'll get the rematch, and whoever's the champion's going to be like a 2-day champ, and Rhea's just going to win it back again. I wouldn't like to think they do that, but it is WWE, and that is what they've done with the rest of the group so far.
Does it send out a different message, though? Say Rhea Ripley wants to retain the championship and she says, look, you can put me up against anybody and I still get the job done. Everyone else in the Judgment Day, this is why I should be, if there's going to be a leader, I should be the leader because I get the job done each and every time. Doesn't matter how many people they throw in front of me.
Yeah, it is a good point. She's the only one that's consistently held on to her championship. But then, like we've said so many times before, the biggest worry is that if she retains, she's effectively destroyed that whole Raw roster, and you really are running out of names for her to come up against, apart from a Jade Cargill, who we mentioned earlier. Like, if they're going to bring Jade over to Monday Night Raw, and then there's a possibility that's then the first sign that, oh, actually Rhea might lose this title to an up and coming Jade Cargill. I think but with this, the idea that she doesn't have to be involved in the pin, this is what I suppose makes this match more interesting, is the fact that there's a doubt and a possibility that she can lose it without even ever taking a pinfall.
That's the interesting part of this match here. And you mentioned Jay Cargill could be someone in the future. Obviously, a return Liv Morgan could be one at some point down the line. And Becky Lynch could be someone also that could be a future challenger, potentially a WrestleMania match against Rhea Ripley. I will keep this one short and sweet here because although I say this is a good opportunity if you're going to do it, because Rhea's going to, I think, have a very long title reign, and sometimes it freshens things up just to have the title on someone else for a little while. I think the long-term play here is Rhea Ripley versus Nia Jax in the meantime. So I think Nia Jax doesn't take the pinfall. I think that Rhea Ripley pins one of these other ladies, and therefore it sets up matches for the future. I will predict that the one that takes the pinfall will either be Raquel or Zoey, but I think it's going to be Raquel Rodriguez because she's been in championship matches. So I think if Rhea pins her, it still leaves the door open for the other three ladies to have matches against Rhea in the future.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I mean, this is more than anything a real test for Zoey to see if Zoey can hang with these four, obviously established women on the roster. So it's going to be interesting to see what Zoey can do this weekend. But I'm the same as you. I think Rhea is going to retain. I think the long goal is Becky Lynch. It makes sense. They've been every so often over the last couple of months, they've had these two interact, and I think that's the end goal. That's the Mania match, is Becky versus Rhea.
I completely agree. I think the Survivor Series match, when I say long-term goal, Nia Jax, I think Becky is Mania. And I will just add a last little nugget on this one. I think Nia Jax delivers the move that will take Raquel out of the match, but Rhea will get the pinfall. And I think that's what helps them continue a match going on afterwards, because who is actually the most dominant female? You could make the argument that Nia did the work, but Rhea got the pin. So I think that's what they'll try to do with that story. But we'll go into the chat in the meantime, and we're going for Rhea. Ghost Spider also going for Rhea Ripley to retain. CD says this one is easy. Rhea Ripley retains, but Nia Jax won't get the pin. So there we go. We've got a question. What happened to the Shayna Baszler and Zoey Starks tag team? One off at this moment, completely disappeared. It's not been going on for a while. There seem to be rivals now instead.
There's a good point that they could actually go back with that story from this match, depending on how it plays out and what those two do as a unit in this match.
That's very true. That's very true indeed. In fact, they could even be to the point where it's like, well, we're going for the singles goal, but hey, the tag team gold's in our sights, and we know that we could work on that instead, perhaps if they've been taken out of the championship program. So yeah, makes perfect sense. Noob says Mania 40 predictions: Asuka versus Io, Kairi versus Bayley, Shotzi and Charlotte versus Chelsea Green and Piper Niven versus Alpha Fire and Isla Dawn for the tag team death match. Oi oi. Can't imagine WWE doing a death match, but certainly in the style of, perhaps maybe, is where Noob is going with that. Ghost Spider says, fun fact, last time a women's championship was defended in a fatal five-way on pay-per-view was No Mercy 2017. There you go. That is a fun fact indeed. Thank you, Ghost Spider, for the fun fact. Richard says that Zoey Stark versus Liv Morgan is a WrestleMania 40 prediction from Richard. Thank you for sharing it. And also, Ghost Spider here says, I think Rhea Ripley's next pay-per-view title defenses will be against Zoey Stark versus Rhea Ripley or against Liv Morgan in an Extreme Rules match at the Royal Rumble. Time will tell if either of those will go down. In the meantime, we'll move on to our next match, and I can tell you what, we've got a big one I'm going to be discussing next for you. For the World Heavyweight Championship, Seth Freakin Rollins versus Drew McIntyre in what has to be my favorite build of the entire show. I have really enjoyed the build here with these two. Obviously, the story pretty much being the basis that Drew McIntyre is no longer good guy Drew, really, but he's not really bad guy Drew. It's just Drew isn't doing things for other people. Drew is doing things for Drew. He won't help other baby faces out if it's not going to be anything that's going to benefit him in the long run. However, he did help Seth Freakin Rollins stop being cashed in on by the Judgment Day when he realized he was going to get a championship match. And his problem with that led to the story of the Bloodline. Obviously, the Judgment Day, a big faction running WWE right now, or certainly running Raw, he doesn't want that again because, well, on SmackDown, he had to deal with the Bloodline. And of course, if you go back to the history of Drew McIntyre, when he finally got his big moment, it was at WrestleMania 36, it was the pandemic, and it was an empty PC arena. Drew never got his moment in front of fans and feels a bit bitter for it. The time that he had as the top dog in WWE is the time everybody wants to forget. And when it came to fans coming back, things didn't quite go to plan. But he finally got the show that he wanted. He finally got the opportunity of where he thought it was the moment to win that title back. It was a show NXT attended. It was Clash of the Castle in Cardiff, Wales. And of course, the Bloodline made sure that didn't happen, the debut of Solo Sikoa. And of course, on the build of that show, Jey Uso getting involved, Jim Uso getting involved, everyone on the Bloodline stopping things from happening. Drew, since then, he said, look, don't think I'm going to get that moment. But now I'm going to get that moment, and I'm going to win the World Heavyweight Championship, and I'm going to do it against the vulnerable Seth Rollins. Of course, Seth will break his back to retain that championship. Drew is happy to break that back to win that championship. Of course, Seth has kind of said, cry me a river. Boo-hoo. We've all had problems with the bloodline. Seth's included in that. And Seth, of course, has lost against Drew McIntyre. Was the first challenger when Drew won that championship in the pandemic. However, it's a different Seth freaking Rollins. It's no longer the Messiah. It's a visionary. It's a revolutionary Seth Rollins, where everybody sings that theme song. And of course, Drew McIntyre pretty much is blaming everybody else. Seth wants to beat him clean because, well, Seth wants Drew to look in the mirror and realize that Drew is the reason that Drew is losing. And Nick, Steve, I feel I've summed it up pretty well. I may have missed one or two details, but my favorite build. What have you got to say about Seth versus Drew?
It definitely has the best story beats coming into the show. It probably has the most anticipation about it because there is a lot of history, not necessarily together, but just the pair of them have a lot of history going into the match. Like you said, Seth and his injuries, Drew and his whole winning the title in front of an empty arena kind of thing. It's going to be interesting. The result is I don't know. This is probably the hardest match to call for me because, like I said, I've been saying for the last two pay-per-views that Shinsuke Nakamura should have been the one to do it, and it's a case of, do I sit there and say that Seth's going to retain because that's just what Seth's been doing? But then if I say Drew, am I jinxing it? Do you know what I mean? It's just I'm damned if I do and damned if I don't. I can't win either way with this one, but I am looking forward to it. I like the story coming out of it. It just depends on what they're going to do at Survivor Series, which is what I'm going to base my choice on.
Interesting. I'm going to come to that in a couple of minutes' time. First off, I am aware of one backstage story, if you will. Drew McIntyre's contract is an issue, a hot topic currently in the rumor mill of the dirt sheets and, of course, of the wrestling media. Drew apparently, and Jones has been telling me for a long time, Drew hasn't re-signed. Of course, he was off TV for a long time. He came back at Money in the Bank. We thought that Drew then was sticking around. Drew even said in press conferences he was laughing at the idea he wasn't coming back. But apparently he has not re-signed that new deal, according to Fightful Select. And apparently the contract for Drew would be up before WrestleMania 40, which seems madness. Is this Drew's last opportunity at the World Heavyweight Championship if he doesn't re-sign?
I think it all depends on if he signs that contract. If he signs that contract, without shadow of a doubt, he'll get more opportunities. It's just about timing, and it's just a case of what they do with it. I mean, there's so many variables depending on the result. Like, if he wins, is this the precipice for him to re-sign the contract? If he doesn't win, is it a case of, do you know what, I'm just never going to get another title. I'm never going to get another title reign. But it's not even like it's him as a person. It's everything going on outside of it. It's like I've been saying for months now, the fact that Seth's going to be in a Marvel film next year, 100% he's going to be champion when it comes to doing press media for that film. He's 100% going to be champion. It's due out next April, May time. So I expect at some point Seth will win this title back again if he does lose it at some point. It's everything else that is stopping Drew from being a champion again. When we talked about Cardiff a minute ago, honestly, I thought that was it. This is the moment. Drew is going to win. It makes total sense. He's at home in his hometown. Do you know what I mean? He's in his home country. Like, he's got all the home fans behind him. And WWE just didn't do it. It was a great way to bring Solo up. And it was like, okay. And you got to sit there and think as a performer, like, do I just go? Because he could walk into AEW and easily become world champion without a shadow of a doubt. But I think it's a case of that. Do you know what I mean? I think it's a case of in your mind, you have to sit and think, do you know what? I'm owed a championship run in front of fans in WWE.
Yeah, I mean, actually, that's actually just made me want to ask a couple more questions before going to your Survivor Series prediction. But and obviously Crown Jewel prediction. But obviously, you said there, Drew, what does he do? Obviously, because if Drew was to jump ship to AEW, for example, which I'm sure an offer would be on the table should he walk away, I'm sure TNA would want him back as well. But to go to AEW, they have a little show called All In, which they'll be doing again at Wembley Stadium next year. to be a headline act. So Wembley is something that I think a lot of wrestlers dream about, especially after SummerSlam '92. Him being from Scotland, obviously not too far away. That would feel like a big time deal for Drew. So I mean, what is it for Drew? Is it the fact that perhaps another one of these sort of big specifications you could be the headline of, win the championship, or if he was to leave WWE, it's always going to be that what if, the unfinished business? Because for Drew, his best moments, and Cena says here, feels bad for Drew. Like his best year was 2020, and it was in front of no one. And it's like, would it always be a big what if for Drew? Like, should he try and get himself back to that position, make it happen?
Do you know what? I think it's his own worst nightmare coming back to bite him again, because obviously he was the chosen one. Vince said this guy is going to be the future of the company. He's going to be a future WWE champion. And for Drew, it's almost like that's been his curse when it comes to WWE. Like, he was always meant to be the next guy and the next big thing. And like, it didn't work out. He left. He then went and started doing stuff in the UK. And obviously he started doing stuff with Drew Galloway. And then he built himself up to a point, just like Cody's done. He got to the point where it's like, do you know what? I can go back to WWE now. I have a credible name. He went through NXT. He won the NXT championship. He's then come up to the main roster. He peed about with Dolph Ziggler for a bit, won tag team titles, and he finally got to that main event scene. And then to win it in front of no one, and he's got to sit there and think, am I just cursed? I mean, like you said a minute ago, the fact that All In is in Wembley, Tony Khan is the kind of guy that would book him to win the main event of All In, because Tony Khan knows that's what you'd want to see. He knows that would get such a massive pop, and it'd be so good for business.
Absolutely. If you were Drew, what would you do?
I think with WWE, the good thing is that he knows that he is a top guy. He's always going to be a top guy in WWE now. His status is kind of confirmed that he is a top guy for WWE. And let's be honest, unfortunately, it's just bad timing. How old is Drew now? He's got to be, late 30s, going into early 40s.
Probably.
Without a shadow of a doubt, if he was to sign, for instance, another 5-year deal, I reckon he would get another 2 or 3 runs as world champion. No problem.
Yeah.
The problem is it's the creative. I think he could probably go, he can go to AEW and then he can go be world champion for 4 other companies at the same time. Not a problem. It's just, I think if I was Drew, I would stay with WWE, because I would want to, or it's almost like, it's like a curse that has to be broken. And I would be like, I have to stay. I have to do this. I have to be WWE champion. I have to be world champion in the biggest company in the world. And it just makes sense. For me, I would stick it out and I'd be like, nope, I'm staying here. I'm determined now. I'm going to win that world championship.
I would do the same. However, the idea of Galloway, Ospreay in AEW as well, obviously the Kenny Omega, there is some true opponents on the other side, and you see more and more people do defect. So there is that temptation on either side. We'll see what will happen, but I think it gets to a point where, and thank you guys, Spider, for checking out. He's 38 years old, Drew McIntyre, at this point as well. So obviously he's not spring chicken, but obviously not over the hill either. He's still got some plenty of time left in the game, should, barring injuries and stuff like that. But I think it comes to the point we have to ask. You mentioned about what would roll into Survivor Series. So how do you see this match in particular playing out?
My prediction is, I'm going to shoot myself in the foot here, but I'm going to say Drew wins. And I reckon that could potentially lead to Priest versus Drew at Survivor Series. Like, I can sit there and turn around and say, do you know what? Seth's going to win. Priest is going to cash in, and Drew's just going to let him do it. That might even be the case, because then Drew can get a match at Survivor Series. But then I sat there and thought about it, that if you have Drew win this, or even like they do what they did with Nakamura, and they go to another match at Survivor Series, and then that's where Priest cashes in at Survivor Series. Because in a minute, if Roman's not going to be on the show, they need something major to close that show with. So whether it be Priest cashing in, I don't know. But for me, I think, no, do you know what? I'm going to say Seth retains, and I'm going to say it's good. And Priest is going to attempt to cash in. It's going to go wrong, and then Priest will cash in at Survivor Series. I think that I don't want Drew to have a 1 month reign with that title. It would be stupid.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to see that either. And I actually think it makes more sense for the story for Drew to lose because he right now is kind of like this tweener role at the moment. Now he's gone from babyface, squeaky clean, help all the good guys to now I'm doing it for me. Losing this match makes him really go to the other side. He will snap and it won't matter anymore because he's out of the picture. And I think, as we said, and I talk about that moment that Damian could cash in. That's how this all started. Drew got his match. All of a sudden, there was a reason to actually help Seth on this occasion because it benefited Drew. It doesn't benefit Drew anymore. If Seth gets hurt, but yet Drew loses the match, Drew will not stop Judgment Day from cashing in because Rhea has spoken with Drew. Rhea has spoken with Seth. Both have said they're not interested in joining Judgment Day. I agree they will not join Judgment Day. However, I think the conversation isn't about Drew if he'll join Judgment Day. It's if you lose, you're out of the picture. How about you let Judgment Day just do what they're going to do anyway, regardless whether regardless whether you're there or not, you're going to get in the way if you are, and then we'll take you out as well. So I think Drew will just kind of go, not my problem anymore. Go on, Priest, cash in. So I think Seth retains, and I will say it. I think Priest will cash in, and I think Priest will be successful.
Yeah, I mean, I would say Seth retains. I just don't know about the thing because, like I said, with no Roman on Survivor Series, you need a big close, and I think a cash in at Survivor Series is a big finish. Like, unless you want to do something crazy and do like, I don't know, a triple threat or something like that, but they need something for Survivor Series.
That could work as well. Well, I'll tell you, we'll go into the chat in the meantime. And evening to Mr. and Mrs. Temple in the house. Both have joined us here. Good to see you. Hope you're doing well. And we've got quite a few comments on Drew McIntyre. See, as I said, McIntyre's character is simple. He only wants to be the good guy when it benefits him. Exactly. And that's pretty much not a good guy in the long term.
Do we get the Scottish psychopath back?
We can only hope, but he said he's what's his line about broken dreams? He can't be dealing with broken dreams anymore. It was kind of
no more broken dreams.
There we are.
Oh, which is beautiful, man. I popped hard when that happened.
The only reason I didn't pop is because there's no more of it. He's kind of, he's not going to give us what we want. It's another sign of, I think, going towards that dark Scottish psychopath side. Ghost Spider says it could be happening. Rollins will retain the championship against Drew McIntyre, and after the match, Drew will snap and turn heel. So there we go.
That's a great shot, actually. And that's the reason why Priest catches in, is he absolutely batters Seth, and then that allows Priest to catch in and win. Oh, that's a great shout.
It is a great shout from Ghost Spider, and Ghost Spider going to say that Drew should win, but don't think that's going to happen. Spider is also going to say...
Sorry, we get a blow-off match at Survivor Series between Drew and Seth. We get the whole the blood, you caused me to lose the title, I want revenge kind of thing, and we get something stupid at Survivor Series like Rage in a Cage or a Slam in the Van. Do you know what I mean?
You're always thinking of that Slam in the Van, aren't you? Absolutely.
Slam in the Van, always.
Absolutely. It's the 2023 version of an ambulance match, if anyone was wondering. But you would maybe find DIY driving it. You never know. Anyway, enough of those bad jokes. Ghost Spider says early predictions for Elimination Chamber. Rhea will defend the championship against Piper Niven, Raquel, Liv, Shayna, Zoey Stark in Elimination Chamber match. I can see Rhea in the Chamber match in Australia to main event that show. Certainly could be a possibility.
And she's winning 100%. That's the easiest prediction of the year next year.
Absolutely. Mrs. Nimble, I saw Drew McIntyre shared the Broken Dreams theme, but Taylor Swift is singing it. Actually sounds really, really good. I've seen it go floating around social media. I haven't actually listened to it, though.
I'm pretty sure it's an AI cover, but it does sound pretty good.
There you go. Fair play. Ghostwire says fantasy booking as well. Rollins to beat Drew. After the match, Drew will turn heel. Then it will set up Seth versus Drew at WrestleMania 40, and then Drew will win the championship there. There you go. Well, without further ado, we'll move on in the meantime. And we've got another match to discuss then. We've got 2 more to go. Start with John Cena versus Solo Sikoa. Of course, John Cena did return due to the actor strike, and there has been a bit of problems with John Cena and the Bloodline since then. Of course, John Cena was meant to team with AJ Styles originally before AJ Styles was written out by the Bloodline at that stage. John Cena got a tag team partner in LA Knight at Fastlane. They won the tag team match against Solo and Jimmy. Cena did speak with Roman Reigns. Obviously, he's the reason that LA Knight has this championship match, which will be our main event we'll be talking about on this stream. But obviously, in the meantime, Cena has realized that he's not won a singles match well, for well over, something like nearly 2,000 days, something crazy like that. I forget the exact numbered figure, but I worked out 2017 was the last time that Cena won a singles match in WWE. So he said the next person that comes for him, that he'll have a match with them. Solo Sikoa was the one, and Paul Heyman has made his feelings clear, saying that, well, we'll send Cena away because, well, Cena is a legend, but the one thing that keeps Cena going is the fact that his voice, the way he can make people believe in him. Obviously, that Samoan Spike is going to take all of that away, and there'll be no reason for Cena to come back again. He can just go off into the sunset and no longer be a member of the WWE roster because he's past it. The retirement thing has been talked about with John Cena as well. However, although it's been teased very, very well, personal opinion time, I don't buy it just yet. And Nick, Steve, thoughts of John Cena versus Solo Sikoa?
What we were saying before, Red, this is a strange one to call because if Roman was appearing at Survivor Series, my money was on Roman winning, on John Cena winning this and going on to face Roman at Survivor Series. But now that Roman's not going to be there, apparently, it kind of like I'm sitting there trying to think of what the possible outcome is going to be and what the whole point is. Who benefits from winning this? What's the next beaten story? And it's kind of like, well, if Solo wins, John Cena just goes away, does some films, and comes back at a later date. But what benefit is Solo getting? Sure, he beats John Cena of all people on a premium live event, which I suppose is a big deal. But then I'm like, if John Cena wins, he's not getting a match against Roman, which is the point of him winning this match, surely. So it's a tough one to call. But I'm going to give my prediction early. I'm just going to say Solo. I think with the fact that Roman's not appearing at Survivor Series, I think Solo has to win this one. I think it's going to be a great way to build him up, and I think that's probably the only thing I can think of, unless you've got something else off the top of your brain as the reason why Solo would win this. But I think it'd be just a great way to put Solo over.
Yeah, it's a great way to put Solo over. And I think as well, you mentioned about Roman Reigns, if they want to break things off and have another bloodline versus, family versus family member match, Solo Sikoa was built up by beating John Cena. What better marquee superstar to build the Solo up he needs? If anything, Solo is missing this big marquee win. He's missing that from the resume. And I think that puts Solo Sikoa to the next level because I'll be honest, Solo was really getting over. And there was a point after WrestleMania where, Roman was dodging Solo, everyone could get, picked on by Roman in the bloodline, but not Solo. Solo was someone that Roman was like, okay. And then there was tensions at SummerSlam. And then Roman's been away for a while. Roman's now come back and it's all just sort of been forgotten about. And I feel in that time that Solo's kind of just faded in the background. I feel this time of all times, Solo's actually missed Roman not being around. It's hurt Solo with Roman not being there. So I'm going to say that I believe that Solo needs this win, I think, against Cena. I think it's going to be a great thing for him. If he can get it, it'll get him back up the ladder. However, when it comes to John Cena, he's got to win another singles match somewhere. The story's already written, but then at the same time, on the flip side, there's a new story for John Cena because what if it really is that Cena can't get a singles win anymore? What if he struggles to get singles wins to the point that maybe he will say, if I don't win this next match, say at WrestleMania, I have to retire? There's another storyline arc made there for John Cena next year.
We do a career ending match, like maybe it's a possibility. I don't think at this point John Cena is ever going to win that 17th title. I think he's just going to stay tied with Ric Flair and go down as one of the GOATs. So, I can't see it happening. Maybe that is the idea. Let's be honest. It's like John's getting old in the nicest possible way, but he is getting old. And it's kind of like physically, he doesn't look like what he used to 5-10 years ago. And do you know what I mean? So he has to sit there and debate whether he can physically do this anymore. And maybe that is the point, but then he's got to lose his WrestleMania match, so maybe he should win this one just to then go on to Mania and lose. I don't know. It's an interesting one, but like I said, I think Solo needs it more than anything.
I understand, Jen. To be fair, coming onto the stream, I was certain I was going to say John Cena. I've been persuaded to near enough go with Solo Sikoa, so this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to still keep a prediction. I think Cena wins. I think Cena's not won for many, many years. I think as well in front of the Saudi crowd, it feels like that sort of, it's a feel-good kind of feeling for that show, for Cena to win in a singles match. However, I think the right thing to do is to build Solo to the next level. And I think Cena to go on a downward spiral storyline, that if he continues on this run with WWE or it's saved for the next one, I think it could be a fun storyline arc. You have good directions going forward, where if Cena just wins, it closes everything off, but has a feel-good factor for that moment. WWE is all about moments, so that's why I'm going to still remain with Cena, but I think it would be the wrong call, but I'll still predict it.
Yeah, it's a good shot, to be fair. Yeah, because obviously John Cena being the big name he is, and in front of that Saudi crowd, you could be right there.
We'll have to wait and see. It's going to be interesting. I think this one is one of the hardest ones to predict on the show, especially when we've not seen the go home angle either. That I always find quite frustrating, because that usually gives you good indication how it will go. But we're doing this before the last SmackDown, before Crown Jewel. Ghost Spider says, I predict Solo Sikoa to win. There we go. And Solo, John Cena's last match, which he won, was Super Showdown 2018. There we go. Long time ago since John Cena won a singles match there. Mr. Temple asking a little bit off topic, do we see Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell winning women's tag team titles? There's no time frame on when, so hopefully I'd like to see it one day. The way they're booked currently on Raw, I would say no.
Maybe around about the same time DIY has the tag team titles, and we just have them as a faction of tag team champions.
That I would really, really like. I'd really, really like that. That would be good. Ghost Spider says, last time Cena won a singles match back at SummerSlam 2016 against Baron Corbin. So that's two potential ones there, winning the singles match there. Last time Cena won a match on pay-per-view was here, and last singles match was the Baron Corbin one. Okay, thank you for clarifying there, Ghost Spider. Mrs. Temple, back once again. I'm lagging again. It will come up eventually.
It popped up.
It popped up. Well, I'll tell you what. There we go. Massive fan of Tegan Knox. And do you think Triple H will revisit the Dakota Kai storyline on the main roster after Dakota versus Io versus Bayley, which could happen at WrestleMania 40 in Mrs. Temple's opinion? They could revisit it, but I think a lot of people are not aware of that storyline, so they'd have to really make people remember this. I mean, even like hardcore fans, not everyone remembers it. So we are a top percentage of fan base that is hardcore dedication that remembers stuff like this. So if you look at the grand scheme of it, I'm not sure that WWE would revisit it. If they would do it, it'd be a whole new angle.
Yeah, I think that there's probably more of a chance of Tegan going back to NXT and possibly getting a run as NXT Women's Champion. I think Tegan going in as the veteran in that division is something desperately needed, because they don't really have any veteran women's wrestlers in that division.
Absolutely. I mean, the fair is Tegan's injured right now as well, again, sadly. So I wish her a speedy recovery, and then we'll probably see where the direction will be after that. Ghost Spider says, do you think we'll get Roman versus Solo at Elimination Chamber? I think that's the place if you're doing it.
Yeah, it depends on. Like I don't know if we've said. I've said this on there on one of the shows before, but like, I think at this point we're looking at Roman going 6 years as champion, and oh my God, it's going to be a painful 6 years if that's the beat they want to go down, and they want him to have the longest reign possible and overtake Bruno. I think that probably Elimination Chamber probably is the best place, but then it's a case of, my God, just having Roman Reigns as champion for 6 years is a daunting thought.
Does feel a very, very long time, doesn't it, at this particular moment? Guys, what else are you going to think as well? Who would be most successful the singles wrestler of the two, Jey Uso or Solo Sikoa? Right now, it's Jey Uso of short-term booking. We'll see what happens long-term.
Solo needs to work on his character. I think if he can nail down his character work, he could be a big deal. Although at the minute, for me, he's kind of like Umaga, and I'm just kind of like, I'm not bothered what he does at the minute. Like I said, he needs to work on that character.
I have to agree with you on that one there. And Mrs. Temple says, so do you think the 4 horsewomen of NXT, given opinion there of Tiffany, Lyra, Cora, and Roxanne, Charlotte, Becky, Sasha, Bayley?
That's my fault. He's true. He's those 4.
Here's those four. Of modern NXT, honestly, I probably couldn't tell you, but that's not a bad shout. The four you picked right there, kind of top names in the NXT round right now. And who do you think's more successful? These five wrestlers: Carmelo, Braun, Solo, Austin, Dragon Lee. Hard to say, really. Probably Solo is the most high profile of those right now. Austin Theory probably second. So yeah, it's probably one of those two.
I don't know, because if you look at the people like Carmelo and Dragon Lee, they've got the potential to be like multi-time mid-card champions at the minute, and it's like that could overweigh everything.
I think long-term of all them, Braun Breaker will be the one.
Yeah, hopefully. You hope so. It just depends on how he transitions to the main roster, because he ain't the biggest guy.
No. We'll have to see how it's going to play out. But I hope things will go well for Braun Breaker. He's certainly had a good build in NXT to when he does eventually come to a Raw or a SmackDown. Anyway, we're going off track. Let's go for the main event match then before we wrap up the stream here today. It is the Undisputed WWE Universal Championship match between Roman Reigns versus LA Knight. Yeah. Every time I'll do the yeah. So basically, we mentioned John Cena kind of got LA Knight this opportunity because LA Knight stepped up. He was the tag team partner for John Cena at Fastlane. He picked up the victory, of course, over Jimmy Uso. And he's called his shot against Roman Reigns for this match. And let's be fair, every time they've been toe-to-toe, LA Knight has stood... well, not stood tall necessarily, but has actually remained on equal levels with the head of the table. He's not been daunted in promos. He's made sure that he's sat at the head of the table spot on a contract signing, which I thought was a lot of fun when they did that. He's hit his Blood Force trauma on Roman Reigns. He has eaten the spear as well. But LA Knight, the gravy train is moving in the right direction, and he's getting a higher position up the card. And I feel, when I felt before, is it too soon for this match? Which is something I've asked many times previously when LA Knight was first getting this shot here. I'm starting to believe that even if he gets defeated in this match, fans will still remain on side. But I think also that can be the determinant of how that was to happen, depending how this match is booked. How do you see LA Knight's mediotic rise to the main event scene in WWE? It's been nothing short of spectacular.
It's been a very fast roller coaster of a ride. Like, in little over a year, the guy is challenging, like, aside from Logan Paul, do you know what I mean? No one else has had a quicker rise to a main event championship title match. Do you know what I mean? And I've said before in previous streams, I think it's too quick and too soon for LA Knight. Like, he needed, for me, like I said, he needed a mid card run, but I think that it makes sense to do this just for the fact that LA Knight's not going to come out looking bad from this, because at the end of the day, Roman Reigns is he's been champ for 1,000+ days and wherever it is now. You can't really look bad coming out of a match against a guy who's been champion for that long. I think this is going to be one hell of a show, and I think this is actually going to, if anything, win people over on LA Knight even more, because I think it's Roman is going to have to do something spectacular here. I actually think this is going to be a clean finish, but it's going to take Roman a hell of a lot to win this match. Like, it's going to take, I don't know, 4 spears, 2 Superman punches. Do you know what I mean? It's just going to take a lot to keep LA Knight down.
Yeah, I think that's certainly one way to go about it. I think, obviously, like you said, if there is interference, and that's the way that Roman retains, that protects LA Knight in defeat as well. I think I'm more in favor of the screwy finish. I know that C Nation, if he's still with us, would not be a fan of that finish, but because that's a lot of the Roman finishes. But at the same time, I think it certainly would keep the wheel ticking for LA Knight. I don't want fans to give up on him, but I kind of feel that, like you said, a slow build would have been great. He gets the comparisons to Steve Austin's and The Rock's, for example. Steve Austin won King of the Ring in 1996, didn't go on to win the championship until WrestleMania 14 in 1998. It shows it's nearly a 2-year plan to get the guy from, winning something, the platform to get towards the top spot, to actually getting the top spot. In the modern world, you can't build it over 2 years. I understand that, but I think even the Royal Rumble, if you'd have built him to the Royal Rumble, got him to win that, or come close to doing it, and then Elimination Chamber, felt that's sort of the right sort of area. I think it would have been more of a fitting time to do it. However, we've said this early in the stream here, we don't think it's finished for LA Knight. We think that the gravy train has got plenty of stations to visit yet, including WrestleMania, and we think that's where he will win the United States Championship from Logan Paul. And looking at this, this is going to be a big time match. There's going to be a crowd that will be hot for LA Knight because the last time they were in Saudi, the whole press conference was taken over with LA Knight chants and yes and stuff like that. It was him and Sami Zayn were like the hottest things over there. So it's going to be interesting to see how it's going to go down. I think that it will be a very supportive crowd for LA Knight. I think there'll be disappointment when Roman wins, which will get him his heat. But I do think and I do hope that there is shenanigans that do cause it. However, I do think there will be the classic ref bump, and I think the Blood Force drummer will be hit, and I think LA Knight will show that he would have got the 3 count had a ref been around.
Yeah, even that. But say for me, I think if you put LA Knight in a position where he has like 4, 5, 6 like near fall kickouts, like where Roman spears him, he kicks out. Roman spears him again, kicks out. 3, you do that 3, 4, 5, 6 times, and you just put it into people's mind that he's got heart, he's got determination, and he's got the will. Do you know what I mean? And it's like almost like a Johnny Gargano takeover New York, where he just goes through an astronomical amount of stuff, just keeps kicking out of it, but then eventually loses. I could take that as a clean finish without the screwy finish, because I think it still makes him look like he's a force to be reckoned with. But as for LA Knight in his future, I mean, even next year, if he's going to go on and possibly win the United States title or Mania, hell, even Money in the Bank, I'd put the Money in the Bank briefcase on him, maybe walk around with the United States title, the Money in the Bank briefcase. The world will be his oyster, and he could do whatever he wanted. He'd be untouchable. And as for the comparisons, man, dude, if you're going to be compared to anyone, being compared to Steve Austin and The Rock is not that bad. Like, we've seen guys being compared before to a hell of a lot worse.
Absolutely. Two of the best of all time. You go back, it's one of the biggest grossing markets in wrestling history. It's not a bad place to be. But we're both going there for Roman Reigns here to retain the championship, and LA Knight to still keep some of that swagger moving forward.
Absolutely
indeed. Well, let's go into the chat then, and then we'll wrap things up here today. So we will start off then. I'm lagging once again, just so everybody knows. It will take a while to get to said comments. I'll tell you what, in the meantime, while we're waiting for the comments to come up, talk amongst yourselves. We'll get there. We've got it now. We are back there now. And first off, we've got Ghost Spider here. As the comments are still freezing on me. Yeah, they are freezing on me, unfortunately. Here we go. Spider here saying that Roman Reigns is going to retain. It's so obvious. It does feel like an obvious one, but certainly still could be a very fun match regardless. We've got also Mrs. Temple saying that Roman versus LA, way too soon, I feel. Logan beats Ray. We get Logan versus LA Knight at Mania 40. So same sort of feeling once again there. We've got some comments as well on other things, all things WWE as well. Mr. Temple wanting to see Shayna Baszler win at Crown Jewel. Pin Zoey Stark thinks she deserves a singles run as women's champion. And that's her prediction. Fair play on that one. Good, solid prediction as well. Ghost Spider, hearing rumors that Karrion Kross will get a push in WWE. Only way to see that successful could be on Raw. And does suggest as well having faction members, perhaps the likes of Dijak, Alba Fyre, Isla Dawn, Scarlett, and Bron Breakker. Excuse me. Do we think Jovanovic will be kicked out of Imperium?
No, I think they're just going to separate Imperium from the other Ludwig and Giovanni. I think those two are just going to go off and be a tag team, and Gunther's going to be just on his own.
They're probably going to do that, but WWE, if you are watching, don't do it. Just don't do it. I love Imperium.
Yeah.
Don't do
it. The way it's set out is that if Giovanni's problem, then it's like Ludwig is now Gunther's problem. So it's a case of if they are going to do it, they're going to split them up, and it's going to be Gunther going solo. But I'm with you. Just keep them the same, man.
Absolutely. If it's not broke, no need to fix it. Ghost Spider says, fun fact, Seth Freakin Rollins only lost 2 times in 2023, and he's wrestled on every pay-per-view this year. Interesting. Great with the stats there. I like it. Ghost Spider says, just my opinion, we should have Roman Reigns versus AJ Styles, then Roman Reigns versus LA Knight at the Royal Rumble. Well, we've got Roman versus LA Knight here. We don't necessarily need the rematch, but AJ Styles is one I do see in the future.
You made the point, though, that LA Knight is so over in Saudi Arabia that it just made sense for it to be LA Knight.
Absolutely. Temple's saying something about Christian Cage.
Here's a thought though. What would happen to the wrestling world if LA Knight won this?
It's a great question.
How mad does that sound that LA Knight is the one to beat Roman Reigns? That sounds absolutely crazy.
It does. I think people would be happy. I do feel though, and this is something that I think would be a burden for anybody that beats Roman. They're expected to be the guy moving forward, and there is a potential that if it's not booked perfectly or something goes a slight tweak wrong immediately, people will then start turning on said superstar and said booking, and all of a sudden, oh, you should have kept it on Roman and blah 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 blah. Fans are fickle, basically. I think is the long and short of it. So yeah.
Do you know what I was sitting there, because we sat there and watched Halloween Havoc, and we did that review last night, and it was like I was sitting there thinking about like how Goldberg had like, you know, obviously the 100 and something whatever matches undefeated, and I was like, do you know what? I got a feeling it's going to take the next big thing to do that, to go on a Goldberg style run, win 200 plus matches in a row without losing. That will be the guy that takes the title from Roman. But it's like I'm sitting there trying to rack my brain at the minute, and there's no one that's like new that could do that. I mean, maybe Bron Breakker, but it's like for me, my issue is his size. I don't think he's a big enough guy and a convincing enough guy to do something like that. So, like I said, I can't think of anyone who could go on like a Goldberg style run.
No, it's interesting. It is interesting. I mean, for me, I still think Cody is the guy, and I think he should be WrestleMania 40 until he loses again. I think that's the way they should do it. But yeah, like you say, you look at how things are right now. I mean, could you bring a Wardlow over from AEW? Could you bring in an MJF? Or,
Wardlow
CM Punk?
Is a great shout, by the way. Wardlow is a great shout. But hey, I've actually forgot to mention this to you, like even just outside of podcasts. What if WWE's selling point to MJF is you're the guy that's going to be the one to defeat Roman and take that title? How can you not sign for the company if they turn around and say you're going to be the guy? We're going to book you as the guy that finally beats after 4 years, whatever. You're the one that's going to beat Roman Reigns. How can you say no to signing for him?
He'd have to be a scumbag to say no.
Exactly.
He's our scumbag after all.
I thought about it the other day, and I was like, wow, what a selling point is that WWE turn around, we're going to pay you this much a year, blah, 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 blah. Oh, by the way, you're the one that's going to end Roman Reigns' streak.
I mean, to be fair, I think anybody should sign that dotted line, because you are star made for life, aren't you, up from that stage onwards? But last question that's come in, and then we'll wrap things up. It'd be a shocking moment if LA Knight beats Roman. Could The Rock come and cost Roman Reigns?
I mean, I wouldn't be against it. I mean, it then gives us the opportunity to get Rock versus Roman, because I've always said that match does not need a title on it.
I would say that it would be a fun moment. It would be a special moment. We'd all be talking about it, but at the same time, I don't think it will happen. I think just because I just don't think it will happen. If Rock versus Roman is going to happen, I would suggest that The Rock would win the Royal Rumble if it's going to happen, and it will be for a title.
And yeah, I think that logically makes sense. But I think also if they did that, it would also undervalue the whole point of LA Knight winning that title if The Rock was to interfere.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. So whoever beats Roman, I want them to do it clean. After all this time, you don't make the star if someone costs the person the title. But would be a shocking moment. We'd all be talking about it, and we'd all be happy to see The Rock, because we don't tend to complain about seeing The Rock unless it's the Royal Rumble 2015. But that's how we're going to wrap it up, ladies and gents. Thank you all for watching the stream. Thank you everyone for putting your comments in and joining in with the predictions as well. It was fun to have you along for the ride. If you've enjoyed the video, please make sure to hit that like button. It really does help the channel massively. Also share with a friend and subscribe to the channel as well if you are new here. Also should let you know as well that if you are interested in checking out other videos on this channel, then we actually did Halloween Havoc just recently as well. Of course, Halloween Havoc 1998, featuring potentially the worst wrestling match of all time, Ultimate Warrior versus Hollywood Hogan. Here are thoughts about that and much, much more, including hearing Dave Meltzer's worst rated wrestling matches of all time. It's quite fun. Also, we do get to talk about other great matches like Goldberg versus DDP. Yeah, that's pretty much all from us.
That in a sentence.
Yeah.
Goldberg in a great match.
It was, well, it's a good match. It is a good match. Fair play to them. It's a good match. But last question I'll actually ask you before we wrap up today. What would you reckon will be match of the night on this show? So we said what match you're most looking forward to. What do you think actually will be match of the night?
I like you. I think it's going to be Drew versus Seth. I think because it has the biggest story beat to come out of it, and depending on even just things like Judgment Day and the cash in with a possibility, I think that is the one. If you're going to watch a match, that's the one to watch.
Interesting. Well, for me personally, I did think it's the match I'm most looking forward to, though I think Rey Mysterio versus Logan Paul could be a match of the night candidate. I think it's going to surprise a lot of people because Rey can still go. Logan Paul still shocks people each and every time. So for me, I think it's actually going to be a really, really good match between the two of them. I like Temple says that Vince will actually win the Rumble.
Keep an eye on the Kickoff show because JD McDonagh versus Sami Zayn, I expect, is going to be a great match as well.
That should be a great match. And apparently rumors are AJ Styles set to return next week on SmackDown. If that's the case, that'd be perfect as a build for AJ versus the Bloodline. Perhaps somebody be OC versus Bloodline going into Survivor Series. But that's all from us anyway. Like I say, please like, share, and subscribe to SCW. Thank you all for watching. A big thank you to NX Steve, as always. He's always a trooper sitting in for these podcasts and sitting there a long time for us, talking about all things professional wrestling. So massive thank you for coming on.
Well, man, as always, it's always a pleasure, man. I look forward to the next one, whenever that is. You know what I mean? Whenever you need me, I'll be here.
Absolutely. We're going to get him in for the review. Take care. Enjoy. And Crown Jewel. We'll see you soon.